welcome to the Psychic Side here on the A1R Psychic Radio Network, Moonstruck TV, and Enlightening Television, the #1 psychic radio network on Earth. I'm your host today, John Cappello, and if you've been watching our show or listening to it, we do a lot of fancy things here on the program. And today we have one of our fancy guests with us. We're going to go and talk to one of our friends, Jennifer Farmer, today. I wanted to spend a lot of time letting her speak today because she's got some good stuff she wants to share with us. She's going to be part of an event in early May that I want her to tell us a little bit about. And then, of course, she's got some other tips to give to the audience about getting a psychic reading. And so I want to welcome Jennifer to our show again. So thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you, John. So glad to be here and happy to get to be on the psychic side with you.
Great. Well, it's very good to have you with us today. So Jennifer, you had told me about an event that you are participating in, and you are doing a lot of work to get it promoted. And so I felt like, gosh, let's help out and give you the opportunity to let people know more about it. So can you just tell us a little bit about what's going on?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you, John, for allowing me to share this with the audience here. And if you're hello to Moonstruck, we're so happy you're here. If you are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we're going to be hosting. I'm partnering with the Center of Unity in Grapevine to host our first annual Body, Mind, Spirit Fest. And in that experience, we've got some amazing healers and some crystal carriers that have these beautiful crystals. We've got some nutrition coaching, and we've got some psychic folks, some tarot reading folks. We've got some great speakers, and I am going to be a speaker there. I'm excited to do that. I'm going to be speaking at 1:00, doing messages from the spirit world. And I'm just really excited about this Center of Unity community because they are a community that opens their arms to people that are a little woo-woo, right? Where I'm in Fort Worth, Texas. And so to find a community that is kind of I'm from the old South, church background, to find a place that allows open-minded, alternative healing, holistic approach to, whole body wellness approach to life, as well as getting guidance from spiritual counselors. And, I just love what they do. And because of that, I wanted to help them be a success this year. And so we are going to host that Saturday, May 4th, 10 to 5. And the tickets are $7. And you can, if you buy your ticket online before April 15th, tax day, you buy one ticket, get one for free. And so we've got about 30 vendors. We're going to have a food truck, yay, some food and some great healers and, reflexology, massage chair, just come and do a spiritual day of learning and connecting and working with people that are open to help you heal. Either from the power of spirit or your loved ones, or through those other practices like natural products and healing. So that's kind of what we got going on.
Yeah, well, great. Well, I know you screened the people very well, and you got some good practitioners there.
We do.
I know it's going to be a great thing. Before I forget, I just want to tell people once again that you have a book out, and that book is the Healing. Is it Healing? Sure, the Healing.
Yeah, it's my book,
Okay.
A Healing Journey. I know it's kind of backwards there, but I think it's turned out. Anyway, it's a healing journey. It's how to help, how to heal grief and move forward in your life after loss. And so, that is a journey. And it kind of in that book, I just share with kind of where to start. Where to start and how to move through that process in your own unique way, using some guideposts along the way to help you get to a place where you can find peace even in the loss.
Mm-hmm. And so I know it's very good, and it gives you a lot of opportunity to write in the book and to express yourself and maybe use that as a reference as you go through that journey. But
Yeah.
another thing that I wanted to ask you about, I don't know if we covered it last time you were on the program, is that you're trained by the Arthur Finley School in Great Britain. You mind
Yep.
telling us a little bit about that? Because there's a lot of people out there that want to learn to be a medium, and you went that extra mile to go all the way from Texas to
Yep.
Great Britain to learn a little bit more about that. If you don't mind, just telling our audience
Sure.
a little bit
Yeah.
about
So
who you are.
So, when I first had my sort of awakening that I could feel and sense sort of the spirit world working with me, it was kind of confusing. I wasn't sure what was going on. Did I lose my mind? And so I really put out a quest to find out kind of what that was about. And lo and behold, I wanted to find a safe place to do that. And for me, I wanted it to feel sacred. And so I had a friend of mine find that the college in Stansted, and I took a leap of faith and went over. And we go through these intensive weeks, and I've been over there many times. And since then, I still actually, even though I've been doing this 17 years now, I still actually work with tutors over there to make sure that I'm still on my game too. So they helped me get comfortable with those abilities, but they also gave me some practical practices. They helped me understand what psychic is and what mediumship is. They helped me understand, about the gift and the sacredness of feeling called to do this work. And so, I recommend it highly. I always feel like that when you go to a school or a program that really talks about evidential mediumship, which is we as readers, we get facts and details that help bring that loved one more to life. That it really does help validate that the spirit world is with us. And so people can have the natural gift, but I feel like for me, going to the college and working in with other professional mediums, it helped me trust my abilities more. It helped me learn where my strengths were. It helped me learn where my strengths weren't. And, to discern on how the spirit world worked with me. And for me, it just accelerated my growth and my confidence. And, I still feel like that, even though we all have the gift, the way I read for other people is kind of how they trained me. When I'm getting messages from my own loved ones, it's different. So, I always talk about, the difference between being of service in giving readings versus, getting our own messages. We wanting our own messages from our loved ones as just we're regular people. We want to know they're with us too. We can't tell them what time and how to get there and the way we want it when we want it. And, we have to be sort of at the disposal of our loved ones, even us as mediums. And I'm sure you can relate to that. You've got loved ones in the spirit world too.
I do,
Yeah.
and they communicate with me every once in a while.
Every
Uh,
once in a while. Yeah.
once in a while, and so
Yeah.
I have to be aware of what they're trying to say to me. So I wanted people to know about that because I know you work hard to be as genuine and as authentic as you can be, and now your work with the Unity people is very
Yeah.
important. And I know that
Yeah.
that's a community that has embraced you, and you have embraced them. And
Yeah.
so it sounds like now that they are wanting to expand a little bit and share
Yeah.
what they have with others, and hopefully this will be an event they'll do, you know, every once in a while at least, because I know you're not sure
Yeah.
it's going to
Yeah,
work.
I think on the committee, we've really kind of, at this point, we're just planning annually. We're kind of thinking, do we like the first week in May? It's that kind of thing. So we're going to give it a go. And we've got some wonderful vendors, which I'm thrilled about. We have actually the sanctuary itself, the roof had an issue, in 2020. So it's kind of got a whole new feel to it because it got a new roof and smells good, looks good, it's light and bright, and so it's actually feels good to even go into it.
Oh, well, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I know you wanted to talk to the audience about how to get a great reading from a psychic
Yeah.
medium. And
Yeah.
so I want to just kind of turn that over to you as well. I know you want people to kind of have in their mind what type of reading they would like to receive, whether it be a a psychic reading, a mediumship reading, a tarot, oracle, life reading,
Yeah.
relationship reading, etc. Just different things like that. So, can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So one of the things that as somebody new into this field, I didn't grow up around metaphysical stuff. Like, in fact, it was like, you should not be, Jennifer, we don't talk about things that go bump in the night, right? So whenever I kind of got introduced to this, I had to learn like what a psychic reading was, and that is, and I feel like if you're considering going to an expo or a fair or a holistic fair, or like going to see someone like John or I at one of these events, I think it always helps to know what to expect. So, obviously, if you're interested in going, that means you're seeking for some kind of comfort. You're either looking for knowledge or wisdom or comfort or healing. And so I feel like it's important because every reader number one, we all read a certain way. And then in that context, I think it's important that are you needing to hear from a loved one? If you're needing to hear from a loved one, it's more about the conversation from the loved one through the medium. And so that's probably not going to give you like how to win the lottery. Okay. That's going to be a conversation with your loved one on the other side. They're going to let you know, and, hopefully it's a great experience for you that, that when your reader is working with you, you can feel that, the presence, the energy, or the kinds of conversations that the reader is having with you. You sort of feel your loved one with you. And, I have like 27 things I want that loved one to tell me as the reader. They don't always give me that. Like, I'm looking for name, date, and serial number. But what I know is what your biggest goal is that you want to know they're with you. And so, one, if you want to have connect to a loved one, it's called mediumship, right? It's not called channeling, it's called mediumship. And so the difference between mediumship and channeling is like, when we look for guidance about our life or about a situation in our life, or our soul is looking to reveal us through a channeling session with ascended masters like Christ and Buddha, and some of the channeling wisdom. And so that's more about how can I improve my life? How can I grow my life? How can I improve this? Right. And it's never let me get my lover back. Okay. So it's, we don't, we want to avoid trying to control the guidance. And so, a mediumship reading is about loved ones. A psychic reading is where someone like me or John will sit with you. We read your aura. Okay, we tune into your guides, and then based on what you're needing in that session. Now, in an expo session, you're usually going to get about 20 minutes. I don't know how many John, but I kind of stick to around 20-minute reading. And so you're not going to get your whole life story in that reading, but you may focus on one or two areas
Right.
in that session, right? And so that's really us. We're tuning into, let's say you have a question about your job, that would be a psychic reading. Okay. If you have a question about, should I move my house? That's a psychic reading. Now, you can ask your loved ones what they think, but the truth is, it's between you and your soul's journey on, what's good for you. And so, when we look at going to an expo, I hope you have the expectation we're going to have fun. you
Yeah.
know, if you're in a bad spot with grief, you might just want to get a healing session from a Reiki person. You might want to get a crystal that helps with grief. You don't necessarily have to force, and you really don't want to force getting a connection from a certain loved one, because that's one of the biggest kind of no-nos, I think, that we want to hear from a certain loved one. As readers, we always hold our breath. We think, please God, just let them show up, right? Please God, let them be there. And what I would say is, if you are going to go to a psychic, you know that that's going to be about you, your life, your family. And if occasionally you can ask about situations with family or extended family, but we're going to focus that on what your guidance is for you and how to handle that situation. Not that we're going to read another person's energy.
Right.
And
Right.
so, yeah, a lot of people, and it's not uncommon. Well, what does this person feel about me? Well, that's a psychic reading, but truly, that person needs to be in the chair to ask that question, not you asking for them, meaning we can read your energy. And that's kind of the best practice is that we stay out of people that aren't there. Right, except for loved ones. So, we've got and I've got a little tip sheet here, but a lot of folks don't know the difference. They'll say, Jennifer, I want a reading, and I always start with, do you want to connect with your loved one, or do you want to know about an area in your life? Right. So that's the difference between psychic and intuitive. It's the same way. Okay. We're talking to you about you. If you're wanting a loved one, that's mediumship. If you want to work with your guides, it's very much a psychic reading, but we as readers will go we'll move our energy outside your auric field and we'll sort of tap into the guidance that's coming from when we invite your guides to be with us.
Mhm,
Right.
mhm. Well,
So,
very
John, would you agree with all that?
I do. I feel like, mediumship is a demonstration of the continuity of life, and it
Yes.
also validates that there is the continuity of life.
Yeah, I
I
love
feel
that.
like mediumship also helps in the grieving process because
Huge.
knowing that your loved one has crossed over and has successfully conquered death
Yep.
is amazing because they're no longer shackled by any kind of fears or any type of illness or things that may have been a detriment in this life. They've
Right.
conquered it and they are whole again.
Mhm.
And it's comforting to know that we'll get to see them again. You know,
I'm
so
in such agreement with you. I think one of the biggest things that probably helped me the most feel comfortable doing what I do in the Bible Belt
mhm,
is when I went to school, across the water, across the pond, they really reinforced that, the spirit world is an intelligent universe of love and that their only purpose is to bring love and healing and evidence of the afterlife. That's it. So, one of the, they don't have to, you don't have to find out what color rug you don't ask them to find out what color carpet you're going to buy, right? You you ask, your own soul what makes you feel good. And some people just don't know that, that you have the guidance within you. And hopefully if you're seeing maybe a psychic reader or a tarot reader or an oracle card reader, and those are the people that you see. Some of them have these, oracle cards are more of the wisdom cards. You'll see a lot of them will have angel cards like I have. I have some that I love all the time, and I'm no relation to Stephen, by the way. But, I like to use oracle cards for myself so that when I'm feeling an indecision or direction in my life, I kind of get quiet. I pull a card for my guidance for the day. Now, there are people that actually are trained in how to give readings using the oracle cards. And then there's the tarot cards, which has been around for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. And some people are kind of afraid of the oracle cards because I feel like some of the imagery is, you see the hanged man, you're like, oh my God, is it? Oh, and like, am I gonna like, is that like, am I fixing to die? So some of the imagery can be very sometimes it can be a little weird. It can make people feel uncomfortable. And all I would say is if you're drawn to a person, and like I know, when I was talking to one of our people that's going to be at the event, Marilyn, she uses, a tarot deck, but she comes from a very high light and vibration. So you kind of get the feel that you're safe in her world, but she still uses some of the old imagery cards, the Rider White cards,
yeah.
which are your typical symbolicism and things like that. And so, what I would say is if you're drawn to a certain table or a certain person, if you're connecting with a loved one, I would just invite your loved one to join you in your mind and heart. And is this the person that's going to help you get that message? And if you don't feel right about that, then just go to the next person, right? I always think it's better that, referrals are always great, but I also feel that your loved ones can help you sort of tap on your shoulder, nudge you that you feel sort of an opening or a healing about being connected to this person, and I'm sure, John, you've had people say, well, I was just really drawn to you. I just, there's something about you. And I always feel like it's because their loved ones are behind us waving, hello,
Yeah.
hello. And so, when you're going to a fair, the joy is to have fun. The other thing is to, it's always fun to bring a friend, right? Because then you get to say, "Hey, look at this and look at this." And if you're in grief, look at some of those other healing modalities in addition to, um, just getting a reading, right? And we've got 3 mediums that are going to be given, that are available there at the expo. But, if you don't feel you're drawn to them, there's other services there that can help you feel that wholeness that John was talking about.
Well, good. Well, we only have a few more minutes. I want to get into a couple of these other things.
Yeah.
What would you suggest people do to prepare for a reading?
Yeah, so if you're gonna go and do a Zoom session with a reader, or whether you're gonna go to an expo, you don't have to do a lot. One thing you wanna do is just invite your loved ones to be with you, to be a part of that experience. Number 2, do not put expectations on how their reading should go. So, like, the biggest mistake I think that people make is I'm not gonna know that's my person unless I get that nickname that I'm the only, so uh, asking for your loved ones to give you specific signs, that's possible, 100%. But it's not like having a regular conversation like me and John, like, "John, show me your ID," right? So, they're they are, what I would say is be open if you're drawn to that person, be open to how your loved one comes through with that person, and then, just trust that, that your loved one is doing their best to get that information in. That's either with an in-person Zoom or an event. Same if you're working on an area in your life, I always invite my spirit guides. I need some help with this. If you could like draw me to the right person, let me get some clarity. I'm about to make this decision or not make this decision, right? So sometimes it's just about getting ready for just getting clear on kind of what you need at that time. I just want to see what happens is a great way to approach things. But don't say I'm just going to let things flow if you really have an expectation. It's okay to say to your reader, "You know what? I really want to connect to my loved one and or I really need some guidance about this." It's okay to give us 1 or 2 things so we as readers know that we're on track with giving you what you're looking for, right?
Well, very good. Now, you also let people, or you want people to know what to do and what not to do
Yeah.
during
Yeah.
reading.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah, I
it's
think we got
you,
that.
you really can't control what happens in a reading. You just have to kind of go with the flow, don't you?
One thing I'd say is avoid social media and avoid telling your friends that you're going to go see a psychic or a medium. Just avoid that. Let that be a private experience with you because I have had people that have lost children, that have lost loved ones, and they've told a friend who's not very open, right? And then they get shamed or they get criticized. If you personally want to draw in that expectation that you would want to connect to a loved one, let that be about you and your experience. You don't have to get approval from other people to do that. You can get referrals. You can read reviews. You can check websites and see how you feel about that person. But it's unfortunate not everybody is open to the gift. They're kind of afraid of some old biblical things that you shouldn't see mediums. I truthfully, and this is just my opinion, you know, I feel like that was written in a time when maybe people were going to readers and psychics that, depended on that for guidance when we should be using our own guidance and our own connection. It's not that we can't ever seek out love and support. We just don't want to depend our whole life on that.
Well, people are usually in somewhat of a vulnerable state when they come to see a psychic.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there's a lot of power that a psychic has
Yeah.
in that when if they don't use the right words or
I
they
agree.
manipulative.
Yeah.
And it's true even today that you can, and I don't know many, I don't know any that really mediums that don't have the right ethics. They wouldn't last very long.
Right.
Uh,
They're not
but
not in today's world.
but no, but in yesterday's world, they may have, and they may
Right.
have, they may have run out of town eventually, but uh,
Right.
but
It's a very good
snake
point.
snake oil salesmen have always
Yep.
existed,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I know you're not that, and I certainly am not either. But a lot of times, people will not be able to take something during a reading But I always tell them to remember it. And so you have here, what things to consider after a reading. So would you say people need to remember those things that they couldn't take and maybe review it later and
Yeah, I've done thousands of readings now, and so have you. But it never fails. I mean, we shoot as readers to be 95%. And honestly, we may not get 100%, and that's realistic. If we got 100%, we'd all be at the lottery house. Okay, that's just the truth, right? But what I can say is, if your person has gotten a lot of things right, or a lot of things resonate with you about your reader or what they're saying about your loved one or your experience, if a lot of that is resonating, but some of the things are kind of off, just let that sit with you. My experience has been when we're in a reading, receiving it, sometimes we kind of we're on guard. We're like waiting to see what's going to happen. And so we actually are in another side of the brain and it's hard to process. And so I always just say this is, and if you're with a good psychic and a good reader, they're going to check, like, is this resonating with you? And so, what I would say, if it doesn't go well and things didn't place, it may have not been the right reader. Don't give up. Your loved one still wants to work with you. Okay. Number two, if there were a couple of things that came through that fit, just be open to how those things show up later. Because I've had some crazy, great stories where things have come through 3 years later. They chased me down and say, "You won't believe what happened." And I'll be, "You're right. I don't believe it."
We only have a few seconds left. I want to plug our sponsor, but quickly,
Yes.
about 10 seconds, can you tell someone what to do if the things don't go as they expected, and then we're going to have to sign off. It goes quickly.
Yeah, just be open to consider that it wasn't the right day, it wasn't the right person. Number two, consider those things that did go well and let the rest go.
Okay, well, very good. Well, thank you so much for being a part of our program today. It's always a delight to have you. We hope you'll come back. And,
Yes, John.
and so I want to thank my sponsor, Miracles of Joy. Be sure to go to their website and purchase something, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.